2022 has been a stellar year for the Nintendo Switch. There's been a variety of games across so many different genres, and in this video, I wanted to break down 18 of the best games for the Nintendo Switch of 2022 as we head into the holiday season, holiday buyer's guide, what games you guys should check out, and if you missed any, now is a great time to go back and pick up some of the games that you might have missed out on. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's go ahead and get into the first title here, and that is Pokemon Legends Arceus for the Nintendo Switch. This is a very different style of Pokemon game. Gone is the competitive focus of multiplayer in the games with a weak single player, and on is a full-on single player experience that can be played by all ages and everything. It was actually one of the biggest surprises of 2022 that we had a Pokemon game that came out like this, that gave you the freedom that it gave you to sneak around, catch Pokemon the way that you wanted to, fly through the skies, go through the land. It was really cool and easily one of the best games of 2022 on the Nintendo Switch. So if you're looking for a different style of Pokemon game that kind of ups the difficulty a bit and focuses on the single player campaign with some cool and unique mechanics thrown in there as well to mix up the Pokemon turn-based formula, like the agile style and also the strong style, to kind of do different types of RPG battles, check out Pokemon Legends Arceus on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Portal Companion Collection. Now this is a game that I'm not too big on myself when it comes down to puzzle games, but you can't ignore it as one of the better titles to launch in 2022, sitting at a nice 96 Metacritic average. This is pretty much the perfection of Valve, Steam, whatever the heck you want to call it, them making their games back when they actually made games. And this collection plays and looks great on the Nintendo Switch. Portable puzzle solving at its best, still has all of the bells and whistles from the other versions of the game, but now you can take that anywhere that you want, which could be more of a reason to pick it up on the Nintendo Switch, just so you have that portability aspect to it. It looks great, runs great, and plays great, and got the best scores so far on the Nintendo Switch in 2022, so we have to recommend Portal Companion Collection for all of the puzzle Nintendo Switch heads out there. Next up is the Pink Puffball with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This is one of my favorite platformers on the Nintendo Switch, hands down. It is a super smooth, really well balanced and creative Kirby game that really takes the 3D aspects of, let's say, Super Mario 3D World and combines that with the patented Kirby gameplay to create a Kirby game that we really haven't seen ever before. This is easily the best-selling Kirby game of all time, and I know why. It's done so many cool things in the 3D realm, so many cool things with the Kirby powers, getting all of those, unlocking all the different secrets, all of the end game stuff after you beat the game is fun and challenging. This is the type of Kirby game that we've been wanting on the Nintendo Switch pretty much since the system launched, because Kirby Star Allies wasn't it. So if you're looking for a fantastic 3D Kirby game and you want something right now, check out Kirby and the Forgotten Land on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. People forgot about this game from ATLUS and Vanillaware, but I didn't. This is a phenomenal visual novel slash strategy game. It really mixes it very well, but this is a game for people that want to experience a really heartfelt, warming story, but that can also be tragic at the same time. So if you're into the visual novel type of game, but you also want a bit more gameplay and strategy, this is the game to go with. I was completely enthralled with the story of this game. The strategy RPG segments in the game were also very mind-bending, I would say. That makes you think about what your next move is, and it's really fun once you get going and once you start understanding the story and going through. You just want to keep playing and playing and playing, and even having replay value built in there. Plus the Nintendo Switch version has a couple extras as well when it comes down to it. So if you want one of the best stories in the modern age, and one of Vanillaware and ATLUS's best stories as well, along with the gameplay, check out 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Triangle Strategy. This is easily one of the best strategy RPGs that I have ever played, and that is saying something because I have played a ton of strategy RPGs, and I would say out of all of the games on this list for big RPG games, Triangle Strategy has the most quality of life options, and I would say user easeability than all of them. You can customize pretty much everything. You have prompts if you want to see a character when they're talking so you know exactly what their affiliation is. You have ease of access, being able to level up and grind anywhere in between missions or right before main missions, in addition to upgrading and leveling up your weapons or just trying out different strategies, talking to your teammates. There is a variety of things that this game does that other games and other strategy RPGs just don't do. So that's why I had to put Triangle Strategy on this list as one of the 18 best games on the Nintendo Switch. But honestly, this game is definitely underrated if you want a moving strategy RPG that has a really, I would say, snappy and also addictive battle system with the kudos in there. Do yourself a favor and pick up Triangle Strategy on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is an indie game, and that is Tunic. This is a Souls / Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening type of game. It really mixes the old school Zelda formula with some Souls, with the overhead type of combat that we saw before in the past, and it creates a really unique and good game. Tunic is one of those games that you can just pick up and start playing, do side quests, continue to explore, and just want to search every single little nook and cranny in this game. I think that it fits the Nintendo Switch very well, the pick up and play of the portability or having it on the big screen as well. It's a high quality port, so you're not going to get a too downgraded version of the game. It pretty much runs and looks great on the Nintendo Switch. So Tunic is one of those games that if you're looking for a bite-sized adventure but also packs a lot of gameplay, Tunic is your style of game, especially if you're into Souls and Legend of Zelda. You're gonna feel right at home with this title. Next up is Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes on the Nintendo Switch, and honestly, this might be the biggest surprise of 2022 for me. I was actually shocked how much I liked this game, because while I did like Fire Emblem Warriors on the Nintendo Switch, I felt there was just something kind of lacking from it from some of the other Warriors themed games out there. But Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes builds its own identity off of the back of Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and what it does is it takes a lot of the good mechanics of Fire Emblem 3 Houses with some of the features and then makes it even better, evolves it, and removes a lot of the fluff and a lot of the boring things from that game that creates more of a gameplay heavy focus and gameplay narrative. So there was many times when I was playing this game that I was thinking, man, this is a little bit better than Fire Emblem 3 Houses when it comes down to it, because they cut out a lot of the fluff and the restrictions that that game puts on you when it comes to fighting or when it comes to leveling up, when it comes to moving around the monastery. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes gets rid of all that boring stuff that makes it even more interesting with a really cool overworld map where you can kind of go do side quests, get extra things, get extra equipment, level up more. It really does a great job with that, and that's exactly why, in my opinion, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes is the surprise and / sleeper hit of 2022 on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Live Alive. This game was very weird how it even got on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo actually asked Square Enix to bring this game to a worldwide audience because this game was originally only released in Japan. And what makes this game unique is that it's an RPG, but it's split across multiple different warriors across different time periods that all have one enemy or one version of an enemy that they're going to beat, but then it all comes together at the end and you have to decide what happens to the fate of the universe at that point. So it's a really good game, and I had a ton of fun going through Live Alive. It's bite-sized adventures, so no single chapter or story takes more than a few odd number of hours or so, but then the gameplay really comes alive once you kind of finish everything, then get to the next step. So if you want a great RPG that really was ahead of its time, because this was like an early 90s, early mid 90s type of game, then Live Alive is your game on the Nintendo Switch. And for our collectors out there, you might want to get a physical version of this game because I doubt it's going to be something that's supplied for a very long time. So check out Live Alive if you're looking for that classic HD 2D brought to life, brought to a modern sense with the visuals, this is the game to pick up. Next up is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and if you watch my channel, if you know anything about me, I'm a huge Xenoblade fan, and this is pretty much peak Xenoblade. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 checks all of the boxes when it comes to the Xenoblade formula. It gives you a huge, massive open world that's seamless. You can get in and out of battles right there on the fly, no problem whatsoever. You have all sorts of extra content in the game. You have great replay value. You have just a ton of things that makes this the best Xenoblade game in my opinion, and one of the best games that I have ever played. The story is absolutely phenomenal. If you are someone that likes those fantastical type of RPG stories, you're not going to want to miss Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, I do recommend picking up, or at least knowing what happens in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 before you play Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but if you wanted to just jump into this game and see how it is, then maybe work yourself backwards, you can definitely do that. But I highly recommend Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think the battle system that is completely overhauled from the previous games with the multiple different classes and how you can level up and have your builds really creates a brand new gameplay experience that's just much better than the previous Xenoblade games in my opinion. And I loved mixing and matching and doing different things and taking on some of the extra content that's been coming out with new heroes and also with the challenge arena battles too. It just creates an already good game even better with that content. So check out Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This is an RPG that you can't miss if you are into RPGs or huge story-based games. Next up is Splatoon 3, one of the highest selling games on the Nintendo Switch in 2022, if not the highest, based off of what we've seen so far in Japan, and I don't think it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. This is a very unique third-person shooter that has you swimming through various different types of ink, well, at least your own, in order to cover up the turf to defeat the enemy. But there's not just turf war though. There's plenty of other different modes that you can play, and this game is kind of a ongoing title. You're gonna get new different types of weapons and equipment and abilities throughout the next couple of years that are all going to be free updates. Plus, there's also an expansion coming. There's a full single player that's already in the game. Then you also get an expansion as well. But my personal favorite thing about Splatoon is just the uniqueness of it. The fact that it's not just okay, I'm going to go out there and team deathmatch. Like, you have to really use your teammates in the various different modes, from the Rainmaker mode, also Turf War. Obviously, it's very important there as well. You have Splat Zones, and then you also have this Clan Blitz game that I don't like. Don't like playing that one, but all the other ones are really fun. And I think that Splatoon 3 brings together one of the most unique things about Nintendo when it comes to the design philosophy and what they do, and just made it into something that just became a phenomenon when it comes to online multiplayer shooters. There's nothing else on the market like Splatoon, and I still play it to this day. I still go in, get some matches in. The online, although there's been some issues, has been upgraded greatly from before, and they're consistently releasing new patches to help get things better going forward. So it's only going to get better from here going on out. So if you're looking for a great third-person shooter on the Nintendo Switch, since games like Call of Duty and some of the other big shooters do skip the platform, check out Splatoon 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is NieR Automata, the End of YoRHa edition, and I cannot recommend this game more. This is a phenomenal, impossible port on the Nintendo Switch. Originally, this game came out on the PlayStation 4, and it was a pretty intensive game. It's got these big open-ended areas. It's got super fast combat. While the Nintendo Switch version doesn't quite hit that target of 60 frames per second, it's 30 frames. It's a very well done and built game. The input delay is not much. The latency is good. The moves feel good to do, and it has one of the best stories out there. And visually, it holds up very well compared to the PlayStation 4 version of the game. And there's plenty of content in here, and it's only $40. This is one of the best values in gaming as well. And in classic Platinum Games fashion, there isn't any DLC, there isn't any microtransactions that kind of go in there with their big main single player RPGs. It's just the game, and it reminds me of the old school era. So yes, NieR Automata, the End of YoRHa edition, check it out. You don't have to play the previous NieR games to get into this one. You can just pick this one up and play it, and at that price, I had to recommend it as one of the best Nintendo Switch games of 2022. Next up is Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope on the Nintendo Switch. This is a game that I've been playing so much lately, and I absolutely love it. Now, along with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, this is one of my best sleeper hits, and yes, we knew that it was going to be good, but it's a lot better than I even thought that it would be based off of the new mechanics and things that they've done. They've made it to where you no longer move on a grid. It's more of an open-ended running around. You have some really cool abilities between the Rabbids and also the Mario characters. I love some of the strategy that they put into this game because you're constantly thinking about, okay, what spark am I going to use to buff my characters? Or what am I going to do to take advantage of the weaknesses or the resistances? All right, what am I going to do with my abilities? Who am I going to go into this battle with? Am I going to snipe with Luigi? Do I want to have my combat healer, Rabbid Peach, out? How about Princess Peach? She does a great job of protecting my allies. Or Mario, he can stomp on people's head after hitting a team jump. There's so many different possibilities and variety with this game. I'm still going through, and the replay value and the exploration from each planet to each planet, you're going to be playing this game for hours on end. I mean, I'm already almost 20 hours in, and I'm only on the second area, so I'm making sure that I 100% everything because it's that fun. The hardest difficulty, definitely recommend playing it on that. The normal is too easy, so playing it on the hard mode, it's a ton of fun to just pick up and play. So Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope, one of the best strategy RPGs that I have played, and definitely one of the best Nintendo Switch games. Next up is another impossible port, and that is No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch. This game kind of surprised a lot of people when it was announced, and even more surprising, the fact that it runs really well and looks great on the Nintendo Switch too. Bandai Namco with the publishing on this one, Hello Games with the development, and they did a great job with this port. It started out with just a couple of people in the office just tinkering around with the Nintendo Switch, then came to be like, hey, let's actually get this done when they saw that it could be done because they were fans of the system, and it worked really well. And remember, you're getting all of the content from that debacle at the beginning when it first launched. That is so far behind them at this point. The game has plenty of content, tons of stuff to do, various different locations. So much of the updates are all in this base Nintendo Switch version of the game, with one of the big updates coming out recently. So if you're looking for a space exploration odyssey on the Nintendo Switch, that's not Super Mario Odyssey, and obviously there's no Super Mario Odyssey 2, check out No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero on the Nintendo Switch, and recently we got The Legend of Heroes Trails into Revere coming out next year, or announced for next year. So if you want to get into that game, you got to check out The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, because that is a direct sequel. These Legend of Hero games are picking up steam. I see so many people now getting into them, buying the physical copy of the game. Falcom did a great job with this. This is a really high quality port of the game, more like a remaster. It looks great, it runs great, and has one of the best turn-based combat systems hands down on the Nintendo Switch, and easily one of my top games of 2022 on the platform. Next up is a game that almost needs no introduction, but we have to do it anyway, and that is Persona 5 Royal on the Nintendo Switch. Recently launched at the time that I made this video, and yeah, this game's incredible. One of the best ranked games on the Nintendo Switch of all time. One of the best ranked games when it comes to JRPGs of all time, and easily one of the standards when it comes to great turn-based experience. That is Persona 5 Royal. There is more content in this game than you're going to even have time when it comes down to it, and the Nintendo Switch is the perfect system to get that done, because you're able to take it on the go, so you can get in all that extra content, get your confidants, get your mementos, get everything that you need to do in this game on the go or also on the TV. And it's a great port. It's not in 60 frames per second like the PlayStation and Xbox versions of the game when it comes to the newer versions of the game, but it doesn't lag or glitch out or look bad on the Nintendo Switch. And if you have a Nintendo Switch OLED, it looks gorgeous on there, and being able to take it on the go, and it's honestly a blessing just because of how much stuff there is to do in this game, and there's a lot of talking as well. But I think that it's absolutely worth it because this also has one of the best stories out there. Now the gameplay, press turn, mega 10, you guys know, exploit weaknesses, get another turn. It's fantastic, and you're just gonna get addicted to the gameplay and the demon fusion or the persona fusions and all of that. But the story really is what carries this game along, and the different palaces that you visit and the different designs that are in the game. Persona 5 Royal is a game that can't be missed on the Nintendo Switch. It's finally here after all this time, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Next up is Neon White. This is a game that kind of got forgotten a little bit, but it's one of the better indie games to release on the Nintendo Switch, if not the best one, with the highest rating when it comes down to indie titles on the platform, and with good reason. This is a phenomenal first-person momentum-based game where you're fastly moving through different areas, getting different guns, getting different abilities, and going through as quick as possible. Speedrunners are gonna have a blast with this game, or if you're just looking for something smooth and different when it comes down to it. My only issue, if I had just one thing to say, is that it's first person. If this was third person, I think I'd be over it even more than I am. I've played it and it's great, but the first person is something that I'm not too much into, but I know a lot of you guys might be into it, and I think that it fits the type of game and what they're trying to do. I completely understand why they went that way, and the reviews also agreed as well, because it's a phenomenally reviewed game and one of the best indie games ever to release on the Nintendo Switch. So check out Neon White if you're looking for something a little bit different, off the beaten path. Neon White is one of those games that might have been forgotten about, but definitely is one of the better games on the Nintendo Switch in 2022. Next up is Bayonetta 3, and there's so much that I love about this game. The new Demon Slave mechanic is probably the best new addition that a Bayonetta game has gotten since the franchise started back in 2010. It really does add a brand new layer of depth and excitement to the gameplay, being able to do your typical Bayonetta combos with new style and sass, but then also add in the Demon Slave mechanic and having these massive monsters just come out of nowhere on the spot, on the fly, to finish off combos, to fight for Bayonetta as she controls them, and to just add in a whole new layer of combat depth and precision to this game that really just makes it, to me, the most fun Bayonetta game to play, because you still have everything the previous Bayonetta games has, but then also this new mechanic, also with thrilling big kaiju battles that play in various and different types of ways, almost like Godzilla at some point. So I really love what they did with Bayonetta 3. I think the music is fantastic, the style, how Bayonetta fights, the 2D parts with Jean, Viola as her character. She's different from Bayonetta, how she fights with Cheshire, her own summon. It's just incredible what they've done with this game. It is a non-stop action ride, but then also adds in other gameplay elements like exploration and puzzle solving a bit more than previous games. Now, the performance isn't absolutely perfect, but as you're playing through the game, you almost don't worry about that, and you're just focused on fighting and having fun and mixing up the combat, as the game just has this blistering pace to it. So I highly recommend anybody looking for an incredible action game to pick up Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Now for this last part, guys, I'm gonna go over a few bonus games that as of the time that I'm recording this video is not out yet, but I know is going to be really good based off of what I've seen, and that is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Sonic Frontiers, and also Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Those three games I think are going to be really, really good. I'm looking forward to all of them just because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I think that the open world obviously is going to be incredible for a Pokemon game. First time ever with a true open world. Pokemon Legends Arceus was not true open world, it was open-ended, but this is true open world where you can tackle the 3 separate campaigns in any order that you want, and it has seamless multiplayer as well, where your friends can come in and they can fight with you and trade and do all sorts of stuff. It looks fantastic when it comes to the direction of this game, and I think it's a move in the right direction, and the Pokemon look great too as well. Now after that, we have Sonic Frontiers. This is a game that looks better than pretty much every single other 3D Sonic game that I've seen in a very long time, and that includes Sonic Colors as well. So Sonic Frontiers, it's not out yet, we don't have scores, but I think that this one is going to be a fantastic game and one of the better titles for the Nintendo Switch when it comes to third party, especially on the platform in 2022. And last but definitely not least, we have Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion. I think that this game is absolutely going to be one of the better games of 2022 on the Nintendo Switch. It's multi-platform, but being able to take that type of game in its original state, because remember, Crisis Core is a PSP title. It was built for the portable play in the first place. So having it on the Nintendo Switch, and from what we understand, running at 60 frames per second, or at least targeting that, so you're going to get a nice fluid type of game, this is the way to go when it comes down to it. I love what Square Enix is doing, and Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, I think, is going to be a great title that really puts together one of the forgotten Final Fantasy games out there, because it was on PlayStation Portable, and putting it to a new modern audience and also completely revamping it. It's not just the same game ported over, it's actually remastered to the point where they didn't even know if they wanted to call it a remake or a remaster. That's how much work went into this game. So absolutely check out Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion on the Nintendo Switch. So those are my best Nintendo Switch games of 2022. We are going to revisit this at the end of the year and have a top 10 Nintendo Switch games, but for right now I want to do a little bit of a holiday buyer's guide out there for people that are going to be getting games for their friends or family or for yourself, and going over some of the best games of the year, because sometimes we forget about some of those titles that came out before with the holiday rush of all the games that are coming out. Are there any games that you would add to this list? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click the notification bell, and we'll see you for the next video. Peace.